Yo, what's up? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm an adult.
Do you support Donald Trump?
I do.
And why is that?
I'm a supporter of him because of all of his policies that he stands for and everything that he's done so far with America, including his last term.
Such as?
So, what is the reason why you don't support him?
Well, his big beautiful bill cuts 420,000 children off of free school lunch and breakfast on average every month, 2.5 million people on average per month off of their food stamps, 10 million people off of their health insurance through the context of Medicaid, adds $3.4 trillion to the debt. Plus, his other policies are incredibly detrimental to the working class and to people in need, and it increases taxes on the working class. We could also point to the fact that he denies science. I think that's incredibly negatively impacting our health, and I think that's a public health crisis.
But where's your proof of that?
Of what point?
Of all of everything that you said, like it's almost like completely like false, like almost everything that you just said. And I wonder why you are on here spreading lies instead of actually showing us facts
Tell me what the specific lie was.
that he doesn't support science.
Okay, I'll give you explicit examples. He said the climate's going to start cooling and that science just doesn't know it yet, which is actively denying the scientific consensus that the climate is increasing global temperature and that it's caused by humans. Over 97% of climate scientists indicate that to be true. He said recently that Tylenol usage during the context of pregnancy causes autism, which there's no evidence indicating that, and it's actually a misinterpretation that he has from a study that indicates that there's no association between the usage of Tylenol during the context of pregnancy and autism, right, after taking into account factors such as genetics and siblings.
Yeah, but that's an opinion. You don't have no fact of that
We do have facts on
because
that. I just showed you a Swedish study with 2.5 million different children that it overlooked that
that's
indicated
from
no
Sweden.
association between Tylenol usage during pregnancy and autism, right, after taking into account siblings and genetics. That's a fact. That's from a study.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact from Sweden, but that's not a fact that what he got from the cases that we have been receiving out here in the US.
There's no case in
So
the
how do
there's no study in the U.S. that indicates that vaccines, I mean not vaccines, that Tylenol used during pregnancy is causing autism. There's no study. Can you tell me what the study is?
Yeah, this study is everything that they've actually brought out to you, that they've said that exactly where you got your information as far as his opinion on it. All of that information, they got that from the studies of women that have children that had autism. They were linked to them taking Tylenol.
So
And that was
again,
out here in the US.
when by the way, they didn't cite a study. When taking into account genetics and
Well then, okay,
siblings,
well then where
there
did you
is
get that
wait, by the
other
way, by the way,
information
I
from?
just want to clarify to you. Correlation does not equal causation. Okay? Just because it is the case that there's two things that are associated does not mean one cause the other.
You got that information from Sweden.
For example, during the context of the summertime, there's an increase in the rate of violent crime, and there's also an increase in the ice cream consumption. Do you think the increase in the ice cream consumption is causing the increase in violent crime?
I don't know what that would have to do with with
Those
crime.
two
So
things are
no,
correlated. Does that mean that one is causing the other? Just because they're correlated?
no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't agree
No,
with that.
no. If you were to take into account other factors, you would be able to see that there's actually no association. So when taking into account in the context of these studies, right, genetics and siblings, it is the case that there's no association between Tylenol usage during the context of pregnancy and autism. Absolutely no association.
Okay, so that opinion is hindering people from taking Tylenol because
Uh,
it's not
yes.
hindering anybody from taking Tylenol. I mean, if someone is going to take a Tylenol, I mean, I know a lot of liberals, they definitely don't agree with that, so they actually went on social media and took Tylenol while they were pregnant. So I understand that it's for him to have an opinion and say, hey, listen, if you don't want your child to have autism and it's a possibility that this is what you call a correlation that can actually be something close to linked to a death or a crime, why
There
would
is
you want to do
no
something like that?
association with Tylenol usage in pregnancy, right, and autism, given that you take into account genetic factors and siblings. So if you take into account those factors, there is no association. Him saying that there are no negatives to not taking Tylenol is factually incorrect and leads to, again, right, people having worse overall health because untreated fever is harmful to the person who's pregnant in terms of their health, and it's harmful to the health of the pregnancy.
And that's because there's alternatives of taking that. Because if you're having a fever and you want to take a drug so that you don't have the fever, but instead you would prefer to take a Tylenol, which is your preference, and it's not going to stop you. I don't think that that's a,
Wait, I'm sorry. That's what doctors recommend you should do, because not treating fever is harmful to pregnancy. It's harmful to health.
And like I said, there's alternatives. And his suggestion
What's the alternative? Tell me, what's the alternative?
The alternative is Advil.
Wait, Advil is not as. Wait. Are you saying Advil is safer in usage during? Are you saying Advil is safer for usage during pregnancy?
I think so.
Can you provide me a single study indicating that?
Well, a doctor would have to, just like a doctor would recommend.
And what
Tylenol.
doctors have been saying that it's more beneficial. They actually don't. They say Tylenol is what you should use during pregnancy. By the way, don't listen to this random fucking guest on the live stream. He clearly has not done research on this. Please go talk to your doctor. If you're currently pregnant right now, please talk to your doctor. Please talk to your doctor. Push the money gun.
Absolutely.
Don't just listen to me. Don't just listen to anyone on the internet. Please go talk to your doctor. See what's most beneficial in the case in which you are specifically dealing with.
And that doesn't mean that he doesn't support
That's really
science.
important.
And he supports science, by the way.
He doesn't. He said the climate was going to start cooling and science just doesn't know it yet. He said that windmills are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. He said that Tylenol usage during pregnancy causes autism, which there's no evidence indicating any of those things.
That's a health issue. That has nothing to do with science.
That does have to do with what? What is science?
Health and science is not the same thing. What is good for your health is not the same as science. Windmills and everything that you just said. You said something about windmills. Let me pause you there.
Let me pause you there. He was denying the science about what is healthy for Americans. So, yes, when I was talking about his stance on health, it was related to him denying science. I do have to clarify that first.
None of that stuff is correlating to science. It's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. It's not a health issue. You said something about Tylenol, and then you said something about windmills. What does that have to do with science? What is science to you?
Are there scientific studies on health outcomes?
Health outcomes rely on studies for medication, what is causing something, and what is going to be helpful for someone. That has nothing to do with windmills or what the reason why we need for climate change. That has climate change. None of that has anything to do with science. That has something to do with climate.
Yeah,
so we just want you to stay on subject.
Climate science has nothing to do with science. I totally agree.
Climate science. So now we're changing the subject again. So we was talking about climate change or climate windmills or whatever it was. And now we're talking about climate science. Okay, so yeah, the climate has something to do with the weather. It has something to do with the weather changing and the seasons and things of that nature.
Climate does not.
But yet alone, you want to call it science. So again, we just want to know if you even know what science is.
I do.
Okay, well, it's definitely not client science, because that's client science. So what is science to you?
Climate science is a form of science.
No, what is science? Because you're saying client science, and then you talked about Tylenol. So we just want to know if you even know what science is.
Yeah, science is going to be a mechanism of particular types of mechanisms that you're going to use, like, for example, within the context of the scientific method, to be able to explain the natural world. That's what science is.
Okay, so
science is a process in which we use to explain the natural world, and that's called the scientific method.
Okay, so you would agree that involves the periodic table.
Within science, there is a periodic table, yes.
Okay. So if there's a periodic table, what does the periodic table have to do with Tylenol?
The periodic table is not the only aspect of science.
Okay, but why do you think that Donald Trump does not believe that the periodic table exists? And that's one of the aspects that is the fundamental aspects of science.
I never said that he claimed that the periodic table doesn't
exist. You said
no.
You actually said that he does not support science. You said that he doesn't believe in it. We just heard you said that. We just heard you say that. So we want to know why you think
examples. That. Yeah, he said windmills are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. He said that that
has something to do with the ocean.
Yeah,
keep going. That has something to do.
I'm sorry. That also relates to science.
So the ocean and science and windmills, these are all different categories.
For example, you would use a scientific study to determine that there would be an impact that windmills would have on whales dying. You would conduct a scientific study, to determine whether or not the windmills are causing the whales to die in numbers never seen before, which is clearly not happening. No
So what's
scientific
wrong
study
with
has indicated that.
Okay, so if it's not happening, then why would he support it? Why would he need to support something that's not happening?
You ask him that. Do you want me to play the audio of him saying that?
No, I mean if we both agreed on that, him saying that he does not support that, that he believes that it is causing that. Does that mean
whale
that we want
strikes.
money from him?
But you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than hitting a whale with your boat. There has only been, listen to this, one such whale killed off the coast of South Carolina in the last 50 years. But on the other hand, their windmills are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. Nobody does anything about that. They're washing up on shore. I saw it this weekend. 3 of them came up. You wouldn't see it once a year. Now they're coming up on a weekly basis. The windmills are driving them crazy.
How long is this clip?
How long ago was it?
Okay, I just wanted to know how long it was because I just didn't hear him say anything about he doesn't support science. I heard him give an opinion about wells and windmills and one well dying. I just didn't hear the part where he says because of that I don't support science. And that's exactly the reason, one of your reasons why you don't support Trump. So I'm just trying to find a link to some facts here, because if you're going to play a video or a clip, I just wanted to at least link to something that you said. This is the reason why you don't support him. So where are the facts?
Yeah, so I'll show you how your reasoning here is absurd. Okay, if I were to claim,
Please.
yeah, if I were to claim that a specific scientific fact of reality was false, right, I would be denying science within that respect. Okay,
Negative.
That's being anti-science. I'll give you an
Negative.
example. I'll give you an
Please.
example. If
Please, go ahead.
if I denied evolution, would that be anti-science?
Denied evolution, would you publicly go out and deny it, or would you have an opinion regarding an aspect, some sort of aspect?
If my opinion was that evolution was false, okay, that it was a hoax created by the Democrats, would that be anti-science?
That would be anti-evolution.
But it wouldn't be anti-science?
No, it wouldn't be anti-science. It would be anti-evolution. That means
Okay.
you don't believe evolution. I mean, because we know that there's different
I got
aspects
you.
of science, right?
Let's see how far this goes. If I believed the Earth was flat, would that be anti-science?
No, that would be your opinion on the Earth.
No. Yeah, dude, you know what? If you believe the Earth is flat, that is not
come on, bro.
anti-science. That is not denying science at all. That's
Dude,
not
like,
anti-science.
at least
That is
make it
actually,
make sense.
it's actually pro-science to say that the Earth is flat. Okay, it's pro-science.
Okay. Oh, that's your opinion too. I just want to
Wait,
see
so
the
I have a
fact
question.
of
Is it
where
pro-
he doesn't support science.
Yeah, if he denies science, right? A scientific
How? Where did
determination,
he deny
objective.
it? I just want to hear the clip where he denied it.
He said the climate was going to start cooling, and science just doesn't know it yet. That's denying a objectively verifiable scientific fact.
He says science doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, do you want to hear it?
He
So
said
I think one
science-
area of mutual agreement and priority is vegetation management. But I think we want to work with you to really recognize the changing climate and what it means to our forests and actually work together with that science. That science is going to be key, because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay, it'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually. I met so
He
many of
doesn't
the
think
homo.
science knows?
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Is
Yeah,
that anti-science?
If for him to say I don't think science knows, yeah, that's definitely that's not a good opinion, because you're not supposed to say anything about science. I mean, unless you actually can prove that person wrong. However, I don't know if that's a reason to not support his opinion, because it is just an opinion, and we can just disagree about the opinion. Doesn't mean that he shouldn't be supported. So was there another reason why you don't support Trump other than the fact
you
that
support
you think
him
that he
in
does not
despite
science?
of, so you just support him in despite of the fact that he's anti-science?
Yeah, you don't have to be pro-science to be a great president.
Okay. All right. So then, like, what aspects do you like of him then?
I do like the fact that he does listen to whatever these people have to say, and I feel like as long as they're not saying anything that is stupid, he'll entertain it. But I mean, if it is stupid, he'll shut you down, which is a really good thing that we need right now as far as leadership. I don't know if he's the best example when it comes to leadership, but it is what we need right now, since what we had was just just totally just ruining us. So right now, he's just kind of combating that. If we had anybody that was 20 times better than him, I would definitely choose that president. But I mean, come on, for right now, it's like you got a guy who used to be a freaking entrepreneur, or he still kind of is running his business or whatever it is that he's doing, and he has the best interest for our economics. It's like the best person that you can put in charge for that, because the politician would, somebody who actually went to school for politics wouldn't really know what's best for economics, because they would have to go through an economic degree, but you went to school for politics. So there's like what we just discovered, like it's just there's different aspects of science, there's different aspects of politics too. So I just wouldn't want to categorize somebody for just one specific thing. I don't think that he's good for social justice, because when it comes to social justice, we can't confirm that he's doing the right thing. We can't confirm that, because I mean, if there's a person that needs to be in jail, they need to stay in jail. He's pardoning people. We don't know that. So, like I said, there's certain things that I could disagree on, but it doesn't mean that I don't think that he's not the right man for the right job.
Yeah, so I do have an economics degree, and I can clearly see through the context of what I've learned in getting my economics degree that Donald Trump has significantly worse policies for economics. And it's not just me saying that, it's also like economists across the board. But before we go into that, because I think that's an important conversation for us to go into next, I'd love for you to hear this clip, and just want to hear your thoughts on it.
Way I could lose California, but automatically they mark it down if you're a Republican as a loss. That you lose by 5 million votes. I said, 5 million votes? I guarantee if Jesus came down and was the vote counter, I would win California, okay? In other words, if we had an honest vote counter, a really honest vote counter, I'd do great with the Hispanics, great. I mean, at a level that no Republican's ever done.
Do you agree with that?
No, he definitely would not lose California or win California. I'd live in California. He is definitely not close to winning. Okay, there is an honest vote count, and he said if Jesus were the vote counter that he would win California. That's obviously false.
Yeah. So how did Arnold Schwarzenegger do it though?
Are you talking
Like,
about the 90s?
No, I'm talking about as far as when he was the governor, when he had his term in California, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Which was in the 90s, right?
No, it was not in the 90s. Definitely not in the
Or
90s.
early 2000s? I apologize.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely in the early 2000s.
Okay. What's your point?
Yeah, I was.
That's
I mean,
not comparable to
you,
now.
no, it isn't. I mean, but if you want to go historically, I mean, it's almost kind of like we're due for a Democrat because we had a Republican, right? You know what I mean? So that's why we have Gavin Newsom right now. But who's going to be next after him? I mean, it wouldn't be fair if we just put in another Democrat. I mean, we can vote and vote and vote and vote and vote and vote is all we want. But what they're going to do is they're going to do what's fair, and we know why. It's because it's rigged.
What? No.
What?
No,
now
it's
you,
not.
like
no,
what you.
No.
You said it's
California is
fair,
definitely
right?
very liberal. California is very liberal. Push the galaxy. Now, if you want to look at like who's going to be governor next, it likely will be a Democrat because we'll vote for a Democrat again. So it will be fair because that's democracy.
Well, you know what they have right now? Because of what's going on in Texas, the governor wants to do what exactly he said. Hey, if Greg Abbott can do it in Texas, we want to redistrict this state as well. Now, my question to you is: do you think that the Californians, because it is a very, very, very blue state, do you think that they're actually going to go ahead and fall for that if the Republicans vote yes on that Proposition 50?
Yes, we will absolutely follow through with redistricting. I think that's great. We should do that.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that they're not. I mean, it's going to be very interesting coming this November.
If they do it, we will do it. We have a vote like in November on that. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
if you are in
Come
California,
this November, it's going to be very interesting. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, because there's a lot of Republicans that are they already know what they're going to do, and then you already have Arnold Schwarzenegger that's saying, hey, vote yes on it. Because if you vote, I'm not vote yes. I'm sorry, vote no. Because if you vote yes, he's letting you know straight up exactly the consequences. And I think that, I mean, all the interviews that he's been doing, the consequences, basically, the government takes control and the people don't.
What? No,
And
it's the people. So what you're not understanding is that people are still going to be the ones that vote in these areas. And if you're saying that gerrymandering, right, isn't a actual legitimate process, well, then we should get rid of it overall. How about we ban gerrymandering?
yeah, but we haven't done that before. And look,
Let's do
and
it.
you said that it was a very liberal state. So if you gerrymander, that's going to make it even more liberal, right?
It will make it categorized as more liberal, yes, but that is based upon
Okay, that is a goal that they want to do.
Can I please finish? Can I please finish, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Let me
Go
finish
ahead.
this point, please.
Sure.
So again, as it relates to this, we are voting right in California in November on whether or not we want to redistrict in the first place. So it's a democratic vote within California on whether or not we ourselves want it to be redistricted towards what the democratic vote is within California already. So that is distinct from what it is in other places, that specifically they are asking for our right to do it in the very first place. Right? And that's why every single person in this live stream, right, that should specifically vote for that redistricting if they're in California. Because, right, it is important that we set a precedence that if they're going to engage in this, they should ask for the people in terms of what they think first.
Yep, and that's going to come this November. But like what you said the right answer. It's going to make it more liberal. So when you do that, that means they have already implemented all of their corruption inside of these policies, making it more liberal than it is fair.
Corruption.
Because
It's not corruption. That's fighting
okay.
back.
Okay, well then that explains all the red cities then, right?
You mean like
as far as this being a very, very blue state, that explains the red cities, right? Because
some red cities
where's the fairness at? Where's the fairness at? I mean, have you seen what the map looks like now compared to what it looked like 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, because we know it's way more red. So what everything that's being said.
Land doesn't vote. People do.
Okay. Well, those people are either they're moving out of the state, and there's no reason for it.
I mean, we haven't
California's
really lost
moving
many
out of the state, right? Okay. Well,
Democrats aren't leaving. What are you talking about? You think Democrats are leaving California?
It doesn't matter if you're it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you leave California,
it's totally Republicans that are leaving.
They don't want to live in a democratic. They don't want to live. They don't want to live under this tyrant. They don't want to live under him.
We don't want to live with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you would rather them lose their homes, move out.
I'm not saying for them to lose their homes. I'm just saying
they've already lost their homes, and then your governor didn't do anything about it. So I mean, I would leave too.
The people who specifically their houses were lost in the fires, right? I think that they shouldn't have lost their houses. That's ridiculous. And again, we have more funding to be able to deal with the fact that people's houses.
That happened over 9 months ago. No, I mean, if you're gonna finish, at least be.
I will. So, So again, the Democrats actually put more funding into being able to deal with fires than do Republicans. Republicans would be the ones underfunding these programs, which would lead to more people getting their houses burnt down and losing their houses because they don't want to pay for other people's houses. They say to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and to pay for your own house that got burnt down, and that you shouldn't rely on federal tax dollars to pay for your house getting burned down.
No, I mean, everybody knows about insurance, and then all the governor has to do is get inside of the insurance. I mean, the bar is out here in California. There's an insurance carrier. All he would have to do is write them a letter and say, hey, give them their money. They would have had their houses rebuilt. He's putting all this money in the wrong places. We know where he's putting his money at, and it shouldn't go there.
That's not true. He can't just write a letter and then the insurance companies
well,
get
that's
out.
Too bad. That's too bad. That's why he shouldn't be the governor. That's why people are left. That's why people left. It's too bad. And I'm glad you said that. Keep going.
they would have to pass policies in order to be able to do that in the first place, and that's not why people were leaving. People specifically were leaving for plenty of other reasons. If you'd like to provide me any source that people were leaving just because of the fires, I would love to see that, because I don't see any good reason to believe that to be true as a
Okay, cool.
prescription for most people leaving.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a couple businesses. In-N-Out left. They went to Tennessee. And
Okay.
Bed Bath & Beyond, he's leaving. The CEO is leaving California.
That's not because of the fires.
Okay, perfect. That proves my point. So it has nothing to do with the fire. So we'll explain why they're leaving
Actually disproves
California,
your point.
because they did. I'll tell you why. Because they actually specified. They were trying to say that it had nothing to do with politics, which is perfect because they were being very transparent when they said that. We already know that it has something to do with Mr. Gavin Newsom's policies. If he had not had these policies, and we could talk about the homelessness. We have NIMBY, not in my backyard. So why does it have to get worse than it was, like I said, 6 years ago? Because they were out here 6 years ago. Gavin Newsom was still the governor then, but it has gotten worse. We know where Gavin Newsom's priorities has went. It has neglected the Californians, and it has went to his ego. If his ego is to strictly beat Donald Trump, then he has totally not only lost his mind, he lost his priorities and his responsibilities. His responsibility is towards us, to the Californians. And we don't like that. We don't like that attitude. We don't like that behavior. And that's exactly what he's expressed. We've seen his interviews. We've seen his podcast. We know how he's been acting. If he just would have had focused on putting his money in the right places, then maybe we could actually see exactly what you're talking about. But it hadn't happened. It hadn't happened. And we are talking about something that happened over 9 months ago. So that's kind of sad that a person really has not had their. And then we know what he's trying to put affordable housing in the area where these people lost their homes, instead of rebuilding it so they can stay there. It's awful. So yeah, not everything. I don't know. I don't always have to agree with everything
Give me a source
about
for that
Donald
last
Trump.
claim, actually.
Which one? You talking about
Yeah,
Bed Bath & Beyond, or you talking about which one? Bed Bath &
affordable-
Beyond or In-N-Out? Which one? Who?
The affordable housing point.
Yeah, the affordable. That's kind of his goals. He wants to put 80 ADUs there. I read something online. I don't have it
Where?
right in front of me, but I read something online. Yeah, this is just something that came from him. Came from News Now. You can look it up. And then I
wanna
also
give me a
saw it
source?
again on what, social media?
That's
News
not a
Now.
source.
News Now. Okay. Well, are you not looking it up? Can you don't want to look it up, or what?
So you clearly don't have a source. I can look it up, but you just clearly don't have a source yourself.
Oh, it's a fact. You just don't want to look it up. I mean, you could play clips of Donald Trump, but you don't want to play clips of Gavin Newsom and what he says. That's interesting.
So 6 months after the LA fires, Governor Gavin Newsom announced the release of $101 million to help rapidly rebuild critically needed affordable multifamily rental housing in the fire-devastated Los Angeles region. So it's for the people that their houses burnt down.
Rental housing?
You understand?
Is that what I heard you say?
It says
rental housing?
It said affordable multifamily rental housing statewide, right?
Wow, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
What's your point?
Statewide?
That's for areas that specifically were affected, and that it's rebuilding the critically needed. So this was already there.
No, we're talking about Pasadena and the Eaton area, and we're also talking about Malibu. That's where the fire.
The
That's where
Palisades,
people
and then Altadena area. Yes, I know. I'm familiar with the areas. And again, in terms of those, they're not just building up. They're not just taking people's properties from them and then building up stuff that they specifically had from on their own property. This is just to accelerate the housing stability, right, and to specifically to rebuild areas that were affected by the LA fires.
Okay, so basically what you just read is something that he has that he wants to do for all of California, which is nice. They haven't seen it in specifically those areas that I mentioned. They have not seen it. If you took a drive over there, even for Karen Bass, because she's the mayor of the Los Angeles area, even she's saying that it's dangerous to go back over there because it looked like a dead zone. So they had a cleanup process that was delayed. And then they actually wanted to get funding for the rebuilding process. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And so everything that you're reading is basically everything that is coming from Sacramento, which is fine. these people have not seen any of that. So this rebuilding process is not necessarily even for the people who lost their homes. It
That's
is
just
to
not
be put
true.
back on
That's
the
not
market.
true. That's a lie.
Okay, okay.
You said that there's no funding. You said that there's
because
no
they're
funding.
definitely
You said that there's no
there's
funding for people that lost their houses. That's just not true.
okay.
So have they,
If there's
have they
if there's
done to
not
the degree
funding,
that
if there's not
have
funding, okay. If there's not
have they done to the degree that I would like? No, they haven't done to the degree that I would like. But it is the case that you have to acknowledge that they did, right? Like I can't just like overlook that. And then also I'd like to get back to some of your other points once we can, like because you did make multiple points, and I did want to address multiple of those points. You can unmute. I sent you an invite to unmute.
okay, my fault. Go ahead. Which one of those points were you talking about?
Yeah, so in terms of homelessness, homelessness has increased, but it's increased at a lower rate than what it was prior. So they've done things to actively address homelessness, but obviously not enough, right? But compared to other places around the world, right? They are not around the world, around the United States, they have done things. So just the idea that like they've completely neglected Californians and they haven't done anything to address it is simply not true. Again, could they do more? Absolutely. But have they done nothing? Wrong. You know who actually has done nothing? Republicans continually over and over again because they have no plans to address homelessness. And then if you want to talk about neglected Californians as a whole, again, the way that I would say that Newsom neglected Californians is by not passing and signing into law the single-payer healthcare model, right? The specifically universal healthcare system. Not single-payer, universal healthcare system.
Yeah, I agree on that as well. Well, do you agree that he should be defiant and not obey with the Trump administration and what he is asking Mr. Gavin Newsom to do
On what?
on anything? He told him he gave him some money, and then we don't know where the money went.
For what? I'd have to know the specifics. I don't know what you're even talking about.
It was for the fires.
Okay, well,
Yeah, for the fire.
Can you give me a source? Like, I'll take some people in the meantime. I would like to see a source of what you're talking about to be able to respond.
Well, I'm basically going based off of what he said from the press conference that they had in the White House. I did see this on the news. However, I do believe that if it is true, I believe that Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom should be a little bit more compliant with the Trump administration for the sake of him actually restoring any of the money, including these universities as well, because then we can actually kind of believe that the Republicans are responsible for the homelessness when we know that we have a Democrat in office. So we can shift blame. But the thing is, I actually would have to agree with the Republicans on this. We're not going to be dishing out any money if you don't want to be compliant and allocating funds correctly. And so if he is a person who is notorious for misallocating funds, he's notorious for it. And I'm talking about Gavin Newsom. I don't think that any Republican, including Donald Trump, is going to want to, fund him. And then it's going to be to do all of these things, these billion-dollar deals, and putting us in more debt to make it seem like he's actually doing something. Can I address some
of these points?
Sure.
If you cared about debt, you wouldn't support Donald Trump, who signed off on more debt-related spending. Secondly, the source can't just be Trump claimed it. Okay, that's not a source.
Okay, so where's the money coming from then?
What do you mean?
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say he didn't say that because I don't have a source in front of me. So where would the money be coming from if we're in debt? There's a deficit that has been misallocated for, and we are right now it's putting all of California in debt. So I'm just trying to figure out, because there's lots of people that want to know, what happened to the money that he was supposed to do. Lots of things. And I'm not just talking about the fires. I'm talking about the train project, the one that's supposed to shoot all the way from LA to Sacramento. So just little stuff like that. We just kind of wanted to know, where he's actually allocating these funds, because he had money prior to the California.
There was a $73 billion budget deficit after a $100 billion budget surplus. So it was from there's been a deficit, but prior there wasn't. That's better management than the federal government, than what Trump's done, because Trump signed off on 4 trillion more debt-related spending. Where can we get the money is the same question you can ask for Trump. I would agree that like we need to be fiscally responsible. So I think it's an issue to address, but I don't think that you are the one to say that like Democrats need to fix this issue when Republicans like Donald Trump, the person that you're supporting right now, right, is significantly worse for the debt than Kamala Harris. Like I just don't think that you're in a position to advocate for that while simultaneously not caring about the debt in terms of the federal election.
Well, because I actually live in California, I'm actually more disgusted with the governor than I am of Donald Trump. If I actually lived in a red state, I probably wouldn't complain. Gas prices will be down. I wouldn't have to worry about
Gas
eggs
prices are up
being
since Trump
expensive.
got in office. Eggs have gone up since Trump got in office.
Tell that to the people who are
Inflation has gone up since Trump got in office, especially, or not since Trump got it, since Liberation Day, and it's going to continue to go up because Donald Trump's tariffs put upward pressure on prices. So I know the reality is that Donald Trump's going to increase the prices. So I know you think it's Democrats, but it's actually Trump.
everybody's saying the opposite. Everybody in my community is saying the opposite. Everybody.
I get you, but this is what economists are saying. Okay, I can tell you that because I
Their numbers are
understand
wrong.
economics.
They're liberals.
They're not wrong.
They're economic.
No, they're
liberals,
not.
and that's fine.
No, they're not. These are conservatives too.
They cannot be conservatives if they are living in a community where they are actually seeing prices go down.
What? No, conservative economists indicate that tariffs put upward pressure on prices. Economists across the board say this to be true because it's a fact.
The what fact? I'm talking about regular
It's
people
a fact.
who are.
It's a fact that tariffs put upward pressure on prices.
I don't know where it's putting upward pressure on prices at, because right now
2.3 to
gas is-
2.9% since April.
Okay, well, the gas is going up over here in California because of the governor, not because of Donald Trump.
Well, the reality is that on average, it's gone up since Trump got in office for across the entire nation. So it's not just California.
Okay, well, maybe like going back to the nature of my initial question, if he was a little bit more compliant with the Trump administration, he can actually get a little bit more funding.
No,
We wouldn't have to hear Donald Trump saying that he's
being
cutting
compliant
funding.
fuck being compliant with
Okay,
the
well,
federal
that's
government.
fine. That's
I'm
fine.
serious.
Well, if
No,
he
when the
doesn't- if he
federal
doesn't want to,
government when the
then
federal
he's-
government
he's
is
already-
sending when the federal
All right.
government is sending in people unmasked who are not identifying themselves, who are not using warrants to particularly
wouldn't
take
have to.
people to particularly take people out of their communities.
He
without
wouldn't
due-
have to.
Hey man, can I finish real quick? I just want to be able to address
Go
this
ahead.
point.
Go ahead.
Taking people out of their communities without due process, then I don't think that we should comply with the federal government. There are plenty of contexts in which we should not comply with the federal government, right? So I'm not going to listen to the idea that we should just comply in every circumstance with the federal government when actively Donald Trump is undermining people's constitutional rights in this country.
Okay, and we should comply with Joe Biden's when he was in office for 8 years. Or for not, for
I
8
don't.
years.
I don't think we should have complied with anything
More
that
than 8 years.
specifically Donald or that Joe Biden was doing that would have been a violation of due process rights. But he doesn't do that to the same extent that Donald Trump does.
He did.
He didn't.
He did. He's a horrible person, and we've already complied. So, but you guys don't comply, and then don't take accountability to the violence. And then it's like, if you don't want to comply, then we have to send in federal troops. And then you're saying, oh, well,
No.
then you're sending unmasked federal troops. Well, then it's like, okay, well, then you want this war. Then it's
wasn't
like,
talking about
I don't
National
even know
Guard.
why
I was
you would
talking
wanna
about
do
ICE.
something.
I was talking about ICE, not the National Guard.
ICE, and then it's like, it's not going to stop at ICE, because now what they're trying to do is they're trying to plot against ICE. So now that it might actually end up to that, and I hope it doesn't. But if it does, it's like, that's why I keep asking the Democrats to please comply. Just comply. Just comply.
No.
It's hard. It's tough. They don't want to comply. This is the reason why it's happening. It wouldn't happen this way, because everybody's going to.
Trump is the one fucking it up because he's saying that they need to comply and they need to bend the knee, and we're not going to fucking do it. Fuck
All right,
Trump.
that is
Donald
a
Trump.
very
Fuck Donald Trump. I'm not complying
That is a
with
very-
shit to that guy. Fuck that guy.
that is a very violent thing, and that's exactly
That's
the
not
reason
violence.
why.
That's not violent. How is that violent
That's-
for me to
but
say
that-
fuck Donald Trump?
No. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. You have the right to say fuck Donald Trump, but instead of actually saying anything more productive to what I had to say other than fuck Donald Trump, we're not going to do that. That's every reason why everything like that is going on right now. Don't blame Donald Trump. Blame the people in your community. If they're not being compliant, then that's the reason why the things are going the way they're going.
No. When Trump is asking for compliance
He's
on
the-
things that violate people's constitutional rights, we will not comply because they are not just and rational orders. We do not just comply in every circumstance. We're rational and critical thinkers. We actually question what our government is telling us to do.
That's what Congress is for.
No, it's not. right?
That
Because
is what Congress is for.
Because Congress doesn't have jurisdiction over this. What are you talking about? This is specifically Donald Trump trying to throw in. This is actually more or less related to the Supreme Court and the executive.
Right, because everything that we claim that Donald Trump has done illegally, as far as illegally cutting federal funding, he has gone through Congress for that. He can't do it and make it illegal.
No, that's just wrong. He did not go through Congress to send in the National Guard. He did not go through Congress specifically to be able to send in ICE with literally no.
Okay, he went through the Supreme Court judge and they authorized it. Okay, well, I only interrupted you for that because I wanted to. And I basically want to correct myself. So all I'm trying to say was the Supreme Court judge was the one that actually authorized him to do it. But go ahead.
Supreme Court judges did not authorize him to send in the National Guard.
Okay, well, show me your facts because I already saw it on the news and they said that's the reason why they're
I'll
back
tell
in
you. They
California.
indicated that you can't send them in unless you have consent from the governor. That's what the courts have indicated.
Okay, that explains why they've been that ICE was just at Home Depot the other day and rounding up a whole bunch of Latinos that were right there. So I don't know where you got that from.
You're talking about in California?
Yeah, in California.
They have to be abiding by the certain laws designated by California, and that's ICE, not the National Guard. That's a distinction.
No, okay, so just to correct myself, not National Guard. I'm saying I hope it doesn't get to the National Guard. I hope it doesn't get there. That's why I keep asking for the compliance.
He already tried to send in the National Guard. Remember the protests?
Yeah, he's trying. But right now, if we can just send ICE in just to get them, then we can, and they have a strategize and they do it really swiftly, then he doesn't need to send in the National Guard. I don't believe he wants to send in the National Guard. He did try to. And he might try again. And I hope it doesn't get to that part. I know you're saying fuck Donald Trump and we're not going to comply. But I just feel like, Democrats are a bunch of sore losers. You guys lost. He did a very, very good job. He got the popular vote. I mean, just accept it. He's your president. I mean, if you hate it, then hate it for only 4 years.
Wait.
That's the good news.
It doesn't make us sore losers to say that we're not going to comply.
It makes you a sore loser.
Hold up. Can I please finish?
Go ahead.
We're not sore losers for saying that we're not going to comply with orders that we disagree with. What makes Donald Trump a sore loser is saying that he still won the 2020 election with no evidence when 60-plus courts indicated no sufficient evidence to overturn the election. That's being a sore loser.
Okay. We can agree on that, but he's the president now, and you guys still disagree with him.
Wait, are you saying that we can't disagree with the president? What?
You can disagree with the president, but why do you have to say fuck him and we're not going to comply?
Because,
why would somebody do that?
We don't agree with him and we think he's a tyrannical piece of shit.
Okay, and he can't say the same thing about you guys and then put the law on you guys for that too?
Wait, why do we deserve... Wait, what do you mean the law? Not just... He's not doing it justly. He's not using the law. He's actively undermining constitutional rights, due process rights. He's actively undermining free speech. He said he wants to put people in prison for a year for burning the American flag. That's a violation of the First Amendment according to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and Democrats said the same thing too. So we both agree on that.
No, Democrats never said that they want to put people in prison.
Hillary Clinton said it. Hillary Clinton said
Hillary
it.
Clinton
you can go find it. I don't have it right now.
That she wanted to put people in prison for a year for burning the American flag.
Back in the 90s.
And I would disagree if she did say that. I agree. I disagree too.
I disagree too. And I disagree because she was a Democrat. And I disagree with it now.
Hillary Clinton is not the other candidate. It's Kamala Harris. So when we're comparing Kamala Harris to Donald Trump, bringing up Hillary Clinton is dishonest and disingenuous.
She's a Democrat.
That's irrelevant. I don't just bring up every Republican. I'm talking about Trump. I can bring up Republicans from fucking 30 years ago too.
Okay, well then we don't need to be talking about Gavin Newsom either then because he's a Democrat as well.
Exactly. Why the fuck are we talking about him?
I mean, I'm only talking about it because I'm living in California and we know that this is a liberal state. So that's how that ended up getting on that.
Let's stop talking about Gavin Newsom. Thank you very much. And also, here's something I just genuinely want to say in general. Like, this conversation will be something that we have to have if Newsom's the candidate. This is why, like, again, I would still vote for Newsom over Vance and over Trump and whatnot, but it makes more sense to go for someone else because they're just going to categorize us as like extraordinarily progressive and insanely radical progressive when Newsom's not very radical progressive. So it's like we're just going to get categorized as something that we're not again. And I genuinely think that we should move on from that type of messaging. Now, that's my
we can move on.
Again,
yeah, we can talk about Trump. That's
Vance
fine.
and Trump. But yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, we could talk about Trump. We don't need to talk about any other politicians because, yeah, I understand that this is a Trump segment, and I want to be respectful to the segment. So yeah, we could just, but yeah, I'm in support of him because of his policies. I don't 100% agree with all of his policies, but I don't 100% disagree with all of his policies. If you had to actually percentile it, I would say I agree with 90%. The other 10%, which is basically be like, for an example, I don't believe that they should. The ICE agents should be unmasked. I believe that if the governor is any governor in any state, it doesn't have to be this one here that I'm in California. But if any governor says, "Hey, Mr. President, we ask that your ICE agents that are coming here, any of them are, when it comes to any kind of federal troops, if they can actually identify themselves and not have any mask." And if they ask for that, and if they're saying, "Hey, we're willing to comply with that," I think that that's fair, and I think that he should cooperate with them and say, "Hey, yeah, it's your state. You have that right. As long as you're cooperating with me, I can level with you." But if he's not doing that, then that's that 10% that I don't agree with. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be done, because we obviously know that there's people that
have to tell the Trump administration to follow the law.
That's not against the law. I mean, just
wait,
what?
Really? They have to
freaking
identify
4
that.
years ago,
Wait,
we was all wearing masks.
Are you saying
now all of a sudden?
Are you saying law enforcement does not have to identify themselves? Does not have to provide a warrant?
No, you don't need a warrant to make an arrest.
Well, yes,
you don't need a warrant to make an arrest. No, you do not. You do not need to. You do not need to have a warrant if you are a criminal and you have committed a crime. And I'm going to come after you.
Hold on. I just need to clarify. How do you determine that they are specifically someone that you can deport in the very first place? In order to go into like Home Depot, for example, you have to have a warrant to be able to go in and ensure that these particular people are the people you're going after. You can't just say, "I'm just going to arrest whoever I want" without like any type of reasonable suspicion.
No, they have that. They have all of that information.
You have to have probable cause. You know that, right?
They have probable cause. I don't know what it is.
What is
I don't know what the probable cause it was.
Racial profiling?
Because
that's what they said.
It's not necessarily racial profiling.
Yes,
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example to why it's not. All the Latinos that have their phone out that are saying, "Hey, he's getting this person that's actually it's kidnapping his kid." They haven't got that person, and that person is Latino. So it's not racial profiling. They're not getting every single Latino that is in the city of Los Angeles. They're not doing that. They're getting the ones that are here illegally, that don't have any identification, and that actually have some type of petty crime. They're getting those ones. And I don't need
not just petty crime. So, for example, if my girlfriend, because she's a Latina, right, if she specifically goes out in public and she doesn't have our identification on her, do you think that she should be able to be arrested because she's Latina?
I think that she should be able to identify herself.
Wait. So you're saying that my girlfriend has to go around everywhere with identification on her just to not be fucking arrested?
Why would you not have identification? Why would you be driving a car without a license?
Wait. I'm sorry. Walking around in public? You could be in public without identification on you. I walk to the park. If I walk to the park, that's being in public. I don't have my identification on me. That wouldn't be an issue in my context. But you're saying it should be an issue for my girlfriend?
No, the police should not be doing that. Not the police. Heck no. But if it's an ICE agent, well then, is there any suspicious reason why your girlfriend would not have any kind of ID and why would you get pulled over by ICE by walking down the street?
I'm sorry. Why does my girlfriend walking to the park need ID?
I have no idea why she would be getting pulled over by the ICE. I wish you would be giving me more
profiling. That's what I'm telling you. You're saying that it would be justified for her to be profiled in that connotation.
How could it? How could it be
doesn't have identification on her?
They specifically are knowing where she's at, and I want to know why they know.
And how the hell would they be able to profile that they don't have identification on them? How the hell would they be able to identify that?
Yeah, and there's other Latinos that was walking to the park as well. I really would like to. I would like to know more of that as well. I would like to know that you think that they don't have the necessary information to actually go and perform an arrest. That's crazy.
I think that they can choose and pick and choose who they want to after profiling, and I think that's bad. And I think that specifically takes away from the civil and constitutional rights of Americans.
The only thing I disagree with is if they're not getting due process. That's it. Because they need to be vetted.
Donald Trump is undermining due process.
Yeah, then I disagree with that because it needs to be due process, because how do you know that you're just randomly arresting somebody that is just Latino? And that's the reason why that's the reason why I disagree, is because that is the only thing that's going to save the administration from saying that, hey, we're just doing it because it's racially profiling. because not every Latino is getting picked up. That's what I'm saying. You're saying not the ones that are getting petty crime. They would actually need to sift through that with a fine-tooth comb, because they're not going to be able to do that without due process. Otherwise, they just have all of these locations just to round up any random Latino over there, and they know they're not going to be able to end up sending them out of the country for no reason if they actually are from here, and they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to do that. Now they're gonna be yes, definitely in big trouble, because if that's the case. But I just don't believe that he's going that extreme. I believe that the ones that are actually getting picked up are ones that committed crimes. That's what I wholeheartedly believe. However, if the ones that are actually making any mistake, I think that they need to apologize immediately, because if not, then it's going to make them look like it's a racist department. And if they don't, then that's what's going to make the whole thing make it seem like he's a racist, because it needs to happen. You can't be here illegally. I'm so sorry. You just can't.
Wait, okay. So again, you can't determine that they've committed a crime without actually having due process. Secondly, as it relates to this, if we want to talk about people in the country undocumented, right, being deported, who then we have to acknowledge that it's not just that connotation. There are people specifically without prior criminal records that are being deported at a significantly higher extent. Everyone in the country undocumented is not a threat to us, okay? Actually, undocumented immigrants are less likely to be a threat in terms of committing violent crime, drug crime, and property crime in the country comparative to natural-born U.S. citizens. So the idea here is that anyone who hasn't committed a violent crime or bad crime should be given a pathway to citizenship, because they would have been able to get into our country through the legal process either way. If they went through the vetting process, they would have been able to get into the country, right? So then what's the point of restricting them and kicking them out of the country if they haven't committed a violent crime or bad crime? I get that they've committed a crime in terms of coming to the country, which is a misdemeanor, undocumented. Why can't we overlook that because our current process takes too long, and it's obviously ridiculous that it takes so long.
That actually
people to go through the process legally. I get that it's a violation of the law, but we don't always in every single circumstance say that someone's violated the law means that they should be punished to the fullest extent. Right? I don't think that they should be punished for this if they haven't committed a violent crime or bad crime, because they're not a threat to our country. And law enforcement should be focusing on people who are actually a threat to our society, people who have committed violent crimes and bad crimes, rather than focusing on the people that are here working for a better life for them, their families, for their communities, and for everyone in this country.
Yeah, coming here illegally, that alone right there was the exception. You committing a crime was actually what made them go extreme. So if they hadn't committed any kind of petty crime, then they wouldn't have gone this far.
That's just not true, because they're actually disproportionately at a higher rate. They're committing people without any prior criminal charges outside of that context of coming to the country undocumented.
Also, too, just a little geographical fact that when it comes to any kind of immigrant that does come to this country, most immigrants that are not Latino, are not from Latin America, they will come here through an airplane. So they already have kind of some type of identification. They come here for a reason. Now, the ones that are coming here and they have not came here on an airplane, they probably came through another means. And we already know we have names for them. We don't need to discuss those names on here, but that's where they came from. And
let's
that's how they got here.
Let's defund that process by making the legal process go quicker. By providing a pathway to citizenship for those that have not committed a violent crime or bad crime. It defunds that process of people being able to be trafficked if it is the case that you don't allow for that to be profitable by providing a legal pathway that's actually quick and makes sense for people to go through. Because people who have not committed violent crimes or bad crimes will go through the legal process if it's actually reasonable. And when it takes 5 to 7 years on average for a lot of people, and oftentimes $10,000 plus, that is not a legitimate pathway that they could undergo. And that's why they look towards other pathways, such as going through the process through manners in which rely upon, like the cartel, or rely upon some type of trafficking mechanism to get them into the country, because they're trying to make their life better, right? They're trying to make the life better for their family, and they're going to do that through mechanisms in which they can, which makes sense for them from their context. And I'm just saying, we don't want them to be exploited. We don't want them to have to go through that process. We want to provide them a legal pathway because we want them to be treated well, and we want them to be a citizen in this country. Right? We don't
listen. We know their motives. We know their motives, and we're not against their motives. And on all of their motives are fair. It's valid.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't mean that you get to come here through the sewers or other means or any kind of way that you've got here that wasn't through the legal process, because you're not able to identify yourself. And when you're not able to identify yourself,
let's give them the ability to. Let's give them the ability to. I feel like we did them wrong by saying that.
Okay,
and by the way,
listen.
I don't know sewer specifically you're talking about. Specifically, if we're talking about people coming to the country, the mechanism that they had to come to the country, what they had to go through to be able to get in this country, I feel bad as an American because we are the reason why they had to do that, because we created such a system that it takes so long for them to get in the country through the legal process.
Can I
they
tell
had
you
to
why?
go through such a process to be able to get into our country when they should not have had to go through that process.
It's not fair to the Chinese immigrant. It's not fair to the French immigrant. It's not fair to any other immigrant that is not from Latin America. It is not fair to them. They had to work really, really hard to be exactly where they are at in this country. And it's not fair that they had to do it, but the Latinos don't have to do it. That's very, very disrespectful, not only to us Americans, but to the immigration, to the immigrant community. That's very, very, very disrespectful. It's like, why can't you just come here? I mean, all the ones that are here. Okay, well, say that to the Mexican American that was born and raised here that pays taxes just like you and me, because they're losing money too, so that they can come over here and mooch.
You act like Mexican Americans in this country don't agree with my position, right? Like, I'm sorry, like my position makes total sense here. This is like saying your position here is
they're
like saying,
Republicans
wait,
too.
hold on, let me please finish.
Go ahead.
I think most people agree with my position here. I think this is comparable to saying that with K through 12 education, that giving K through 12 education free at the point of service is unfair, right, to all of the people that didn't get it prior. Well, we're advocating for the American dream here. We want the country to be better for our children than it was for us. We want to continually make this country better. And I understand that it was not fair for people in the past, and that's why we're making a fair system for the future. That's why specifically we're advocating for this, because we're saying that this is more fair. This is a better system. Right, so why wouldn't we want that to be applicable to more people? We want people who are currently right now going through the legal process to have a better system. We want people who are in the country or undocumented who have not committed a violent crime or bad crime to have a better system. We want it better for everyone, and making a fair process for everyone is not unfair to the people. Right, in the past, it is actually fair to them because it's creating a system that would have been better for them.
No, committing a crime is not fair. It's basically you need to wait like everybody else. Like when that Chinese immigrant that said, "Hey, wait in line like everybody else," that's why it went viral, because that came from the immigrant community.
That makes the line longer, though.
That's fine. I agree with you.
Why don't you blame the Republicans making the line long in the first place? Stop. Undocumented immigrants are not the people we should be scapegoating and blaming, because they are not the fault.
You know why? Because we're not at the same.
They literally are not at fault.
We're not an asylum for asylum seekers. That's not where we are. We're a country. We work here too. So if you want to come here and work, that's fine. Go through the process like everybody else. We're not an asylum where you could just come here and just say, oh yeah, because my country is doing so bad, now let me come over here illegally, and I don't care that the line is long. I'm going to cut the line. I mean, it's just not fair. I mean, you could say that a whole bunch of people on here will agree with you, and that's fine. But I'm saying that's the reason why it's a slap in the face to all of the people who are taxpayers right now, because it's going to cost so much threshold right there at the border.
That's not a slap in the face to me. That actually, you know, that undocumented immigrants and documented immigrants coming to the country are going to be able to provide systems for us where we can actually maintain the.
We can have more money.
Let me please finish this point. This is a really, really important point. That we can keep the same level of benefits for Social Security and Medicare, right? Because right now, right, by I think it's 2032, according to the Big Beautiful Bill, because the Big Beautiful Bill was passed, we're going to have insolvencies for Social Security and Medicare, right? Which is going to mean that we're going to have to reduce benefits for our seniors, or we're going to have to make it harder to be able to get them, right? Because it is the case that we do not have enough people that are paying into the system to be able to maintain those current systems. So like immigrants, when they come to the country at a higher rate, they have a higher labor force participation rate than naturally born U.S. citizens, meaning that they're going to be putting a lot more into the tax revenues for our system so that we can keep up with the same level of benefits for our seniors in terms of Medicare and Social Security as we have right now. So actually immigrants are going to be paying for us. They're going to be taking care of us. This is the most crazy. I don't know why people think that we're taking care of immigrants. No, they're literally taking care of us. We need immigration.
We're talking about two different people.
We really need immigration.
Yeah, we're talking about two different people, because when it comes to the immigrant community, there's immigrants here that actually have what they need to, as far as we're not even just talking about a green card. We're talking about they actually have a driver's license and they've already been voting and paying taxes and stuff like that. We're not talking about that individual, because I would agree with you about that individual. But those people would even tell their lover or person in their family or whoever, they would even tell them, okay, we'll go through this process and do it the right way. Yes, it took a long time, but look how long they've been here. And so it's almost like we've Americanized them. They speak the same language as us. They can make a joke. So they've been here through a long time, so they have got it. Now the same person is just now getting here, they're going to go through a very long process, and we can both agree that it's going to be a long process. And there's certain people that are impatient, and that is what's making it a very, very big, huge thing, because that's where they go after these people and say, hey, it's too many of you guys. We need to filter out this crime. The police are overwhelmed. And so that's the reason why they're trying to trying to, go through it with the fine tooth comb. It's very, very difficult. And it makes it seem like we're racially profiling, but not every Latino is getting picked up. And I can't really say that it's racially profiling. But as far as what is good for the economy, yes, they are helping out, because there's more of them that are coming, and they're doing the right thing to have that necessary IDs that they need to actually continue to keep working and boosting our economy. But the ones that are not are the ones that are getting picked up. That is what I agree with the Trump administration on.
Okay, so undocumented immigrants commit multiple times lower rates of violent crime, drug crime, property crime in the United States comparative to natural-born U.S. citizens. And we'd be able to actually address crime that is harmful to our communities to a greater extent if you're not going after people who have not committed violent crimes or bad crimes, and instead you just give them a pathway to citizenship where they do not have to leave the country. That is the best process to ensure that people are vetted in the country. It's the best process to ensure that we have a better legal immigration process, is by taking the funding that we're putting into all of these different atrocious programs such as ICE and putting that into a faster immigration process in terms of the immigration court system, right, to ensure that system goes quicker so that we can vet people quicker so that more people can come through the legal process, right? Because it is the case that right now, the reason why we aren't able to actually have a process that incentivizes people to go through the legal process is because it takes too damn long to go through the legal process. So you deporting people, right, who are in the country undocumented, who have not committed a violent crime or bad crime, does not go after the main reason as to why people are coming here undocumented in the very first place. Right? It doesn't limit people from doing that. We have to go towards what's causing people to do that in the very first place, which is the fact that our legal process takes too long for people to get into the country. That is why there are so many people going through the process undocumented right now. And if we understand the motivations for people that are coming here undocumented, who have not committed a violent crime or bad crime, trying to come here for a better life for them, their families, and for the communities that they're existing in, well, then clearly we shouldn't say that they should be punished insofar as that they should be sent back to the country that they've come from, right? Specifically, just because they violated like the law in terms of a misdemeanor. Like, I don't see it any different from, like, jaywalking when it wasn't a threat to someone's safety. I genuinely don't see it. They're both violations of the law, right? I don't think that they should be punished to such an extreme extent. They haven't committed a violent crime or bad crime. There's no reason to do that.
Or we could just give them money to go back to their country.
Why?
Because we're already doing that. They already have programs for that. They're saying, hey, if you can go by your means. You can actually self-deport yourself, so that way we don't have to come and find you, because we already know how Tulsi Gabbard feels. And so she's saying, we're going to come after you.
Why do we want to do that? Why can't we just give them
because we're paying for it already. We're paying for it anyways. So if we're going to pay for it, we might as well just pay them to go back home if we're going to have to pay for them to be detained, or if we're going to have to pay for
Wait, no. If we're paying for these things, do you understand that all of that is going to be significantly smaller than the amount of money that they pay into the tax system, like throughout the entirety of their life? That's like saying that we have to pay for people who are U.S. citizens in terms of a bunch of different things. Yeah, well, they paid more into the systems overall throughout the context of their life, and they're going to be taking from it in that context. So any amount that they're specifically going to cost us, they're going to pay back multiple times fold.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're still going to
if they're allowed to stay in the country, and if you have them leave the country, well, that's going to cost us even more, because we have to deport them, we have to give them money to leave, and it is the case that you have to pay for their ticket to leave, and it is the case that then you lose out all the economic benefits. The immigration surge that has happened under the Biden-Harris administration, according to the Congressional Budget Office, will lead to an $8.9 trillion increase in the GDP by 2034. That is amazing. We need that. That's great.
Yeah, if it's for the people that already have their information, like I said, the due process, and they've already been vetted, yeah, put them right back to, let them go back home. But if not, they haven't done it. You had ample time to get it, and you didn't do it. And then we're trying to place value on those individuals. No, we actually have to pay for those people, because they're going to need medical insurance. They're going to be the first ones in line at the social service office, trying to get public money. And it's like we don't really, it's the opposite. We would like for you to come here and, open up a business or work a job, not come here and you need food stamps and you need GR.
I just want to know, undocumented immigrants and documented immigrants have a higher labor force participation rate than natural born U.S. citizens. So why are you trying to prescribe that undocumented immigrants are just coming to the country and living off of social services, or documented immigrants are? Neither of them are just coming to the country to live off social services. They're actually working to a greater extent than natural born U.S. citizens, providing more into the system than natural born U.S. citizens. And they're less likely to take social services, especially because they can't even qualify for them yet.
Yeah, well, that's not all immigrants. And not all Mexican Americans, for an example. Like you have your Guatemalans or you have your El Salvadorians or whatever. These other demographics, is what I'm saying. Those are the ones that are coming here through other means, and those are the ones that are actually mooching off of government assistance.
What?
That's what I'm specifying.
What are you talking about? No.
Oh,
no specific country of people is specifically coming to our country and just
Okay,
living
I
off
work
our
at the
social
DPSA.
services. No, can you give me any statistical evidence to indicate there's a higher percentage of people specifically from El Salvador that are just living off our social services comparative to immigrants of other nations?
We're trying to prevent that from happening, and because it had actually been happening under the Biden administration, it has. Yes, it has. Because as soon as they were coming over here, they had no money. That's why I'm saying we are not an
Because
asylum.
Republicans voted for policies that didn't allow
Okay.
for them to work right away. That's for asylum seekers, by the way. That's a legal immigration process.
Because we're a sanctuary state. We're a sanctuary city.
If you don't want them to have any social services, then you have to allow them to work.
Okay, so why can't they find work?
They're not allowed to work because of different laws that were put in place by Republicans.
Oh my gosh! Now we're gonna blame the Republicans. Then why are they here? Then go back home. If you're not gonna work and you're gonna blame the Republicans and you live in the Democratic state.
I'm blaming the Republicans because they did something for me to blame them for. I'm not just trying to find things to blame Republicans for. I'm saying Republicans did this, and then I happen to disagree with it.
Okay, if you disagree with them, then I don't agree with them. Basically just twiddling their thumbs then. Because you're saying they can't work, and then you don't want them to have government assistance either. So what are they doing? Essentially, what if
also this is just applicable to the legal asylum process. That's not every form of legal immigration as well. Also, again, this is just like a ridiculous assertion to say that like immigrants are coming to the country just to live off social services.
Okay, but they do need a government assistance. True or false?
Every single group and community in the United States needs social services to some extent.
Okay, so that is the taxpayer dollars that we are referring to.
Those are of the states. I thought you guys believed in states' rights. It was state funded.
Okay. Well, I can't speak particularly. I mean, you know what my view is for the state of California. But I mean, obviously, if they want to do the opposite and they can continue to keep going, this is exactly what makes the rest of America say, "Oh, we don't really want to continue to keep doing that. We can actually have more money. We can actually have more money in our pocket. We go to work every single day. We can actually have more money in our pocket if less taxes was taken out because it had to go to these specific programs." And yes, you're right. It is a state issue, and it sucks for me because we have a state tax here in California. This is the reason why gas is pricier over here than it is in Vegas. My neighbor, Vegas.
It's not the state income tax. It would be like the state sales tax on gasoline.
Yeah, well, sales tax, state tax. Then there's a fee on top of that. You name it. You buy a bottle at.
But you love California, don't you? You love California.
I'm paying for the weather. Okay, I'm not paying for
you
the
can't
economics.
match the weather, right? You can't match the weather. It is incredible.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I'm just paying for the weather because if I had to say that I was living here because I like, the houses or whatever, I'd totally be lying to you because you can definitely have more space in another state. But I have to just tell anybody who's asking Mr. Conrad, hey, why are you still here in California if this is the way you feel? I'm paying for the weather. I'm paying for it. It's going to get pricier, and it's going to get pricier.
Some people say a weather tax.
It might as well be, and you know it's going there. You know it's going there.
You do know for lower income Californians that they have lower tax rates effectively compared to other states in the U.S., right?
We have a lot of incentives.
It's specifically for like higher income Californians that pay higher rates of taxes.
Yeah, for an example, they just got rid of the EV. You can't be in the carpool lane anymore. And I asked the EV guy, a guy who drives the EV. I said, "How do you feel about that?" I wasn't affected. I'm like, okay. because I'm pretty sure that they had reasons for doing that. We do have a lot of incentives.
I
but
never remember there being like a thing where people who have EVs can just go into the
yeah,
carpool
that's what I
lane.
told him. I said I never even knew that, and he was like, "Well, yeah, well, I just read it right now." And I said, "No wonder why you didn't know about it, and that's why you're not affected because you never drove in the carpool lane, just because you had a EV car." So I don't know what town or what city that was for, but it definitely it was he gets his news from some crazy website or whatever. It was a coworker, but nonetheless, we for low income, like what you were saying, for low income Californians, yeah, we get a lot of those incentives that makes it seem like our our taxes are lower.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or add before I go on to the next person?
No, I appreciate you for taking the time. You have a great one.
I appreciate you. You as well. Have a good day.
Take care.
Alrighty, we're going to go on to the next person. I'm going to say thank you to a few people here in the meantime, and then we're going to go on to the next person real quick, everybody.